and make sure the people stop it.
we are
Good
live.
news there.
That good news.
So, Mantewa, that plenty thing that Councillor Gongro and Dr. Yakbaro and the Liberian People Party will do to make Liberia better. So, let's stop here and we'll come back another day. I will still tell you more.
Yeah, we more God. Before you go, let me just ask you one question.
Ask a question, Tiwa. When it comes to the Liberian People Party and Councillor Gongro and Dr. Yakbaro business, I can't get tired. You even want for us to spend the whole day here, we spend the whole day here. Ask your question.
Woman God,
Yes, man.
we come to go for election October 10th.
Yeah.
We will be voting for people we like. Our president, our vice president, our senator, and our representative. How we know Councillor Gongro and Dr. Yakbaro and the Liberian People Party?
Good.
When are we starting? Like a few minutes and try to call that the door.
Yeah, we are live now. We are live now. We already started. The only thing I just have to start the program myself.
Having the same traditional clothes and hat, and the color are the Liberian flag color, red, white, and blue. And Councillor Tiawan Gongro and Dr.
And I will bring you. I'll carry you that back and bring you back on.
They are number 6 on the ballot
One
paper.
moment.
Oh.
Councillor Tiawan Gongro and Imaya Yakbaro, they are the only people that have the broom laying on their clothes. And the Liberian People Party sound also.
Good evening, folks. This is the Broom Talk Show, and tonight we will be having our discussion with the Liberian People's Party, many of the officials. Presently, we are drawing closer to the general elections in our country, Liberia. And at this crucial stage, we need to begin to have discussion with each of the political party, especially with the Liberian People's Party. Tonight, we will have with us some of the officials and the financier of the Liberian People's Party. They will be discussing with us tonight the vision of the Gonglo's team when they take power tomorrow. What also they're going to be discussing and been telling us would be how much they're going to tell the Liberian people how they're going to practice accountability, how they're going to accept people's voices, the voice of the citizen, how are they going to manage crisis if there is any in the country. Tonight we have backstage Dr. Augustus D. Roberts, the chairman for the Liberian People's Party in the United States. So we're bringing up Dr. Augustus D. Roberts is the chairman for the Liberian People's Party USA branch. We also have with us Sir Dave Jai. He is the executive director of the of LISPAC, sorry. One of the strong financier Congo's team on the Liberian People's Party. We have with us these two gentlemen, and we expecting others to appear tonight on this show. We are here to discuss issues concerning the country. Welcome to the Broom Talk Show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm also happy that you people are here tonight, and instead of wasting any time, we will want to kick off. If the rest of our colleagues come, we can start a discussion. I mean, we can continue from where we have started from, so that they can also have another gist of that. So even though we are live, but what do you think? Should we wait for the rest of the other people to come in, or we can start a discussion? What do you think?
Well, if we are live already, then we can.
All right, that's
then
okay.
We can begin.
Okay. All right.
Short discussion. So.
All right. Yes. Okay. So tonight we all know, and we are all waiting for the elections on October 10th. All right. We also have Dr. Doe backstage, and we're about to bring him up. Dr. Doe is the chairman of planning and policy for the Liberian People's Party. Dr. Doe, welcome tonight to the Broom Talk Show.
Thank you, Sazoga, and good to see my colleagues as well.
Right.
Doc, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay.
So we will begin our discussion telling the Liberian people what the Liberian People's Party stand for, what she's going to do when she assumes power tomorrow, how she's going to be accountable to the Liberian people, what kind of collaboration she will have with the citizens of Liberia. We also will be discussing tonight the issues unfolding in our country, especially the process, the electoral process. To a kind of start up, I still don't want to say, let me not let these good and important people introduce themselves, because our show will always have people listening to us at any time from different walks of life. So let me give the space so that you can briefly introduce yourself. We can start with Sir Dave Jai. Sir Dave Jai, can you share with us a little bit about yourself before we begin before we go into our various questions?
Uh, Thank you, Brother Zoka, and I'm delighted to be here. As you rightly said, my name is Dave Toja. I am a Liberian. I hail from the southeast of Liberia, specifically Sino County. I have been in the United States for some time now, about 23 years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not linked to Liberia. I regularly go back. In fact, I'm scheduled to go there this year. I live in Pennsylvania, specifically in Philadelphia. I moved to Philadelphia since 2008 from another part of Pennsylvania. But I'm delighted to be here. I am a registered member of the Liberian People's Party, and at the same time, I am the executive director of the Liberia First Super Political Action Committee, a non-partisan institution that support good governance, support good candidates, those we believe are in the best interest of Liberia. Because for too long, our country continuing to linger behind. So this is what gave rise to the Liberia First Super Political Action Committee, and we deem it necessary to support the candidate state of Councillor Gonglo and put in whatever resources that we can have to make sure that we have a better and a better election in Liberia. So again, thank you for inviting me. I am delighted to be here, and I am happy also to see my fellow partisans and colleagues.
All right, thank you, Saja. And then we'll move on to Dr. Doe. Dr. Doe, can you share with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Again, it's a pleasure being on the Brom Talk Show. I'm Dr. Manan Doe. I am currently the chairperson for the Liberian People's Party USA Planning and Policy Committee. I have been around LPP for quite some time, for many, many years. And I currently reside in the state of Georgia City. It's certainly a pleasure being on this platform once again with my colleagues, Dr. Roberts, as well as Star Dave Jah. Look forward to the discussion tonight.
All right, we'll move to Dr. Augustus Robert. Can you guys hear me clearly? Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Dr. Roberts?
Yeah, we are hearing you, and we appreciate the invitation to be a part of this discussion. And I also greatly admire and appreciate my colleagues that are appearing on this show with me with barely 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to election in Liberia. We think it is very much important for those that are listening to us to know who we are and what we think and what we hope to prevail in Liberia come October 10. I'm Dr. Augustus D. Roberts, and I live in Maryland. USA. I'm the current chairman for LPP in the United States. I literally grew up in the LPP in the progressive movement. And for those that are watching us for the first time, when it comes to uh, political party, LPP is one of the first progressive party that was ever organized in Liberia, and it sprang up from various movements and progressive groups. And we were the first party that actually challenged the True Weak Party, the So Say One, So Say All Party. And from there, our advocacy and education that was provided helped our people to better understand where they were heading. Today, having taken back our seat, we hope and pray that we provide better leadership for Liberia after October 10th. Thank you.
You muted, Zurka.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roberts, for that comprehensive introduction and a little bit about the party expressed in one sentence that get us to know what that party is. We're going to kick up our ball rolling immediately and starting out with one of the most important questions tonight. We see that the election is just 2 weeks, or less than 2 weeks away. And the Liberian People's Party, your party, have filed a lawsuit against the Election Commission for not publishing the FRR at this time, which is supposed to be published by law at this time or before this time. What kind of a hindrance do you see that process posed for your party? It goes to any of you can start up firstly. Anybody can begin to answer.
Well, maybe I can jump in there. You mentioned FRR, which is in short, it's really the voters' roll or the list of voters, just to educate our public a little bit and those watching, the list of voters qualified to vote in the upcoming election scheduled for October the 10th. That voter roll basically reflects eligible voters as well as polling of precincts where these voters are to go and vote, cast the vote. Now, for well over a week, those of us who've been following political developments in the country, the NEC, based on the elections law, supposed to make that election list, available to all political parties. I think the law stipulates that the list should have been provided 30 days, and I stand to be corrected. I think 30 days well before the election date. And why is it 30 days? It's 30 days because it gives all political parties adequate time to review the list, to be sure that those who are on the list they are actually registered voters. Because we've had situations in the past where names have appeared several times. You've had people who have died, names are still on the list. And you have names being duplicated. So all of these situations can only be curtailed if the parties are provided with this final FFR, a final registration roster. But as of tonight, 8:20, the there are reports that the Supreme Court had summoned the National Elections Commission as well as LPP who filed a writ of mandamus, I think McDamus, allowing word, which means to compel the NEC to publish that list. I'm told they met early this evening. I'm not sure what rulings was made by the Supreme Court, but it is anticipated that between now and this week, the Supreme Court will rule as to what needs to be done. So the importance of that list cannot be overemphasized. It's absolutely important because, as I said, it will curtail any potential problem that may emerge on October 10th. So technically, if the list is made available by tomorrow, parties will have 10 days versus 30 days to review 2.4 million names. That was the last reporting that the National Elections Commission made, that to tell the Liberian people that we have 2.5 million voters that have been registered to vote. So the parties will have to confirm that. I will pause on that. I'm sure my other colleagues may have heard some things.
Well, I think Zoka, you are muted again, and
I know. I mean, he's done, and I want to hear from you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think you mentioned the word concern, and at this stage, although the issue of compelling the election commission to publish the final registered voters roster came in last, but before then, as a party, we've been expressing a lot of concerns about issues like logistics, the roads that connect the country are impossible. And that is also going to impact the electoral process. We are also concerned about the government's usage of national resources to run campaign. That creates an unlevel playing field, in the sense that if you are using national resources to rent helicopters to take you around Liberia, whereas the other candidates cannot pass from Monrovia to Wapolu or to River Cess or to River G or to Maryland, then the playing field is not level. And those have been some of the concerns that we have expressed. We understand that Liberian problem it should be solved by Liberians, and we know that some of us sometimes naively believe that the international community is going to solve our problem as such, but that is not the real case. The real issue there is that we have a government in power that has not been well prepared to conduct this election. That has been one of the concerns that we have had over the past. We also expressed that. And the issue of pool washers, those were the issues that we're very concerned about. We made contact with other political parties. We held meetings. We appealed to various institutions, including ECOWAS, the European Union, USAID, and other groups. And most of them saw sense in it that if we don't have people washing the pools, then there wouldn't be transparency to some level. And based on that, we've had a central training point where pool washers that are being trained will be deployed. So LPP has been far ahead of issues, and we have expressed a lot of concerns about things that were not right. And just the issue of voter registration roster, it just added up there a few days ago when in the past elections, it was posted or should have been posted 30 days prior to the election. This election, this time around, it seems to be different. People seem to be dragging their feet. The election commission. And don't forget the fact that we also expressed concern about the election commissioner being someone who has a questionable character because she was indicted, although she was not tried. An indictment is just an accusation. So there are a lot of things that we are still concerned about, but as a political party that believes in the nation Liberia and its people, we believe that Liberians will do the right thing. There will be peaceful elections, and we hope that all parties play a free and fair role in making sure that the playing field is level. That we believe is the foundation of a peaceful election. It's not anyone signing papers say, well, we're not going to do any other, we're not going to challenge anyone that rigs the election. That is not possible. What is really possible is that there be a transparent election, that there be level playing field that will lead to a peaceful election. It's not signing or setting a code that going to stop people from challenging those that will want to rig the elections. So yeah, those are the concerns that we have had, and we still have some of those concerns around.
Dr. Roberts, elections are not rigged on the election is rigged gradually from the starting of registration up to the voting day. You just mentioned that the chairman for the election commission was inducted. But why at this time your party is bringing up that issue? Because if someone is inducted, if that person has been arraigned and brought under the jurisdiction of the law and being inducted, there must have been time for that person who has been inducted to go to court and to start all the process against that person, since it has not been proven. That they have to prove beyond all reasonable doubt whatnot. But why at this time that your party has not gone deeply into that, making sure that the election commissioner actually being investigated. But why at this time when it's like 10 days? For us here it's 11 days. Now in Liberia it's 10 days to the elections. Why at this time?
Well, if that question is a follow-up, then I would just like to mention that I mentioned the issue of transparency and a level playing field because we asked about the concerns that we have regarding this election. So I just trying to package or give you an entire package about the kind of concerns that we have had. When the question came about government officials who were sanctioned, and some of them happened to appear on a ballot. The election commission said that they were mandated. The word mandate. They were mandated by the government to conduct an elections. So that means the government has a level of control over the activities. So they could not stop or ban anyone from partaking in the elections, or even if that person is on a sanction. So with those concerns, we have raised them. We as a party cannot seek to stop the entire process. What we can do is to have them on record that, look, we think that the right thing is not being done. We think that national resources are being used by the government to run an election, whereas the other candidates in this election do not have access to helicopters. They do not have access to the kind of vehicles that were ordered to be a part of this electoral process. And who is watching who? Who is now making sure that there is a level playing field? That should have been one of the work of the election commission and other institutions concerned. So I'm telling you that we have had concerns, and some of those concerns include even the composition of the election commission, because we already pointed out that the technology team that they have, parties should have representative on that team that's supposed to ensure that they do the data entry. And we know that data can be manipulated. That is why we say, look, we should be present and understand and know how the numbers are going to be entered from these counties. So yes, we are aware of everything. We are not here to say let's stop the entire process, but our eyes are wide open, and we're going to ensure that the right thing is done as we go into the elections.
All right, let's grab the attention of the public at this time by bringing to the public or telling them why the Liberian People's Party wants to take power. We see that there are a lot of political parties in the past come to power, and they misuse the resources of the country. For example, the incumbent party, like you have just mentioned, because we saw up in the sky over the Republic of Liberia, helicopters flying from one end to another because of the road situation and all of that, and more besides, probably the president wants to show up that he has more money from the coffers of the Liberian people, and he can do anything he wants to do. Now, why at this time the Liberian People's Party wants to take power? Why do you think you want to become president? Why do you think you want to lead the nation, Liberia?
Zioka.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I, on that, I can attempt that. But before that, I think there are a lot of things that we, as a political party, has all political parties in Liberia, we continue to overload. You said rightly that elections are not rigged on the date of election. Is an ongoing process. It's a gradual process, um, and it starts long way. First and foremost, as we were talking about the publishing of the list, that has not been done. Really, you need to know who are the voters, where are the voters, who is eligible to vote, so that you can tailor your campaign in that direction, so that you know. Instead, I mean, what would be the point of me going to canvass in a place when I know, if I know that all of the people there are not eligible to vote? So it is very essential. It's for the good of the nation. Is for the health of our political system. But these things have been overlooked. As Dr. Robert also said, that the government, there is no political party in that country, apart from the ruling party, that has resources, but we do not, there is no disclosure of finances. How does this political party, or how does the ruling party obtain the resources? Can we separate the party's resources from government's resources? That has never been done. And and as political parties, we continue to cede the ground to the ruling party, to the election commission, which again, I think now we are in an election year, but these things have been happening over the years. I think even that provision that gave the ruling party the sole authority to appoint election commissioners is another provision that needs to be visited. It needs to be visited. So there are a lot of flaws within our electoral system, which even give rise to the rig of elections. The playing field is not level. Government uses government resources to canvass, to do their campaigns. Ministers, government officials are actively running campaigns. And there are certain laws that forbid certain officials of government from taking part in electoral politics. But all of those things as political institutions, we overlook them. I say, oh, maybe we are dependent on some divine authority. Sometimes our electoral process is like where we go into a football match and one of the participating teams select the referee, the linesman, the match commissioners, and chooses even the playing field. So, but sometimes we are in such a rush for election, thinking that election is just the date of election, and we don't address those things. So I think the Liberian People's Party has a party that has been very vocal on a lot of issues, need to constantly raise those issues and call for some sort of consensus. We will appeal to other political parties when these issues are raised for them to also join with the Liberian People's Party. Okay, so that's my point of view on that because it is not it's not a good thing for us to entertain. In fact, while we were doing this, I mean, today I got information and about what happened in Lofa County, and my sympathy to the families of those lost souls. And these are some of the things that happen when people are not prepared, when government is incompetent, is not proactive. Wherever you anticipate that there's going to be large crowd, you have to put some mechanisms into place. And so these all of these things are part of the complex problems that the country continues to experience. So again, as the Liberian People's Party, I think we need to be at the forefront of these things, raise those issues, express them, call for some national consensus amongst political parties so that this nation doesn't go into chaos.
So you're telling your public that when the Liberian People's Party comes to power tomorrow, she is prepared to disarm herself of having the I mean, not appointing election commissioners and also not using the government resources to run her own elections. Is that what you're telling us tonight?
What I'm talking about is for us to govern by integrity, by transparency, by accountability, fairness.
Is that what the Liberian People's Party going to do?
That's what the Liberian People Party will be doing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So let's. Any of you? Yes. Folks, you can unmute yourself? Paul, can you unmute yourself? Folks, thank you so much. We are in discussion, and we just have with us Comrade Paul Queminin, who just joined us. So we'll turn to him and let him see whether we can be able to answer the question. The question is why the Liberian People's Party wants to lead the nation Liberia.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, and I want to thank all of you for creating a platform for Liberians to hear from the party. Before I answer that question or I may comment on that question, let me allude to the statement the brother has just made. The Election Commission is a creature of the government in power. So the creature cannot be more powerful than the creator. The creature is subject to the whim and caprices of the creator. In other words, political parties have not taken this into consideration in the past. We know that the history of elections in Liberia have always been that the government has cheated or the government has taken power or have cheated through the election commissioner. And they are able to do so because the election commissioner is a creature of the government. So what we have now, I think we should continue to work with it, find ways that we can minimize whatever corrupt practices they want to introduce until this election is over. But we should question how future election commission composition should be. As it is now, the president appoints everybody, all the commissioners. What their inclinations are, you don't know. Therefore, because they work for the current government, they want to defend their own position and their jobs. That should be a lesson for us to learn for the future. Now, coming to your question, why we want to take power? I was listening to a program a few days ago, and this question was asked, and the moderator asked the panelists to list 3 different things that they would do, specifically in education, that is different from what we have now. And the answers that I gathered from the panelists revealed to me that all of them have a general idea of how education should run, but they don't have any particular. Unlike LPP, which have established subcommittees for the past six months, maybe less than that or more than that, they have been delving into the various sectors in education, for example, that I serve as a co-chair. We have looked at education from Turbo time, the Turbo time, though, on Ellen, where she said it was a mess until now. So the question we have been asking, what can we do to make education different from how it is administered now, how it is financed, who should be involved, how should it be? So we are looking at education in terms of LPP, under the LPP government. Education will be decentralized, not only by instruction. In other words, we'll go beyond appointing CEO, DOs in the counties. But as a matter of fact, the LPP government will make sure that no teacher comes from Zoedo to come have a pay in Monrovia, because the financing and the administration of education will be decentralized. It's not just in name, where even gas slip has to come from Monrovia to go to the CEO. That's one area. That's a difference we'll make. The other difference is financing education. The cost of education in Liberia now is very expensive. Uniform, shoes, textbook, etc. It's very expensive. We have a set of uniform which will be produced in Liberia using our country cloth, or using, in other words, you do the uniform in such a way that you don't have to pay the uniform price. So no school will import a uniform and sell it $50, and while other people selling it $200. There will be control over how uniform should be. Under LP government, we will encourage our teachers to write textbooks, or educators to write textbooks, because for too long we have been depending on foreign textbooks. As a matter of fact, somebody was joking to say the questions that are drawn by WIAC, no Liberian textbook. Most of the textbook come from other sub-regional countries. So we're going to, LPP government will encourage Liberian professionals to write. LPP government will encourage the establishment of vocational institutions and introduce technology in the curriculum. But there are CEOs. Can you imagine you in bombing as a CEO, you want to present your report to the Ministry of Education, you bring physical copy to the ministry, whereas you could just stay there, say in Tobomber, and send it by email. I mean, these are some of the things LP want to do and get power in education. I know there are other sectors that innovations will be introduced. But specifically in education, there's a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Anyone else can take on our questions before we go to the next discussion?
Yeah, if I just
Yes,
follow
Dad.
up what Paul has highlighted. Recently, I think it's about a week ago, LPP unveiled its platform, its manifesto of what it intends to do when it assumes state power. As you well know, LPP has always been about change and transformation. It believes that the current status quo that the country has operated under since 1847, if you want to put it that far, or since post-war Liberia, it's been a status quo that has never served the needs of the people. So in this platform that the party launched and is now in the public space, LPP identified 22 sectors it intends to initiate reforms in. You just heard Comrade Paul Comedy speak about the education sector. But in terms of how it has prioritized or wishes to prioritize how it proceeds with these changes or reforms, our standard bearer has highlighted at least 3 important areas. First, putting in place the rule of law. Right now, the entire public space in Liberia has no regards for the rule of law. Now, we got 3 branches of government. We got the legislature, we got the executive, and then we got the judiciary. Sometimes it's hard to even make a distinction between these 3 branches because the executive or presidency is so overpowering that the other 2 branches hardly have any independence. So Standard Bearer is saying in the first 100 days, one of the first things he wants to initiate in terms of rule of law is to advocate for legislation.
We lost Dr. Doe. We lost Dr. Doe. I think he always have some network problem in this area. All right. All right. So far, I think once he come back, we're gonna allow him to end up what he has to say. Again, we are still discussing on how we can engage the public, what we can tell them about LPP one's power. And I know that the Liberian People's Party is determined and that she's going to win this election. Those are some of the responsibilities that you will have on your shoulder once you win the elections. Now, you keep talking about accountability. Okay, here comes Dr. Doe.
Sorry,
Yes.
I think I got disconnected there.
Yes. Yes.
But basically what I was trying to say is that we have published our party platform or manifesto. And in that platform, the party has identified 22 areas it intends to pursue or introduce reforms once it assumes state power come October 10 or January 20th. And one of the key areas has to do with the rule of law. Making sure that the rule of law prevails in that country. We have 3 branches of government right now. You have the judiciary, you got the legislature, you got the executive. But in terms of our own political history, the executive has always been the domineering branch of the country. And our standard bearer, in his first 100 days, will begin to push for legislation that will help to reduce that dominance of the executive. And one of the first things he intends to introduce is to introduce legislation that will prevent or stop anyone working within either of these three branches from interfering in the work of the police. The second thing is, so he wants to introduce a law to ensure the equal nature of these three branches, that the judiciary will be independent, the executive will be equally independent of the judiciary, and of course the legislature that makes our laws will be equally independent. There will be no interference of one branch of government into the functions of the other branch of government. The second thing I within our party manifesto has to do with the fight against corruption. As we know, corruption is the cancer in that country. It has eaten the social fabric, the economic fabric, the political fabric of the country. And our standard bearer in his first 100 days intend to really take on this cancer head on by doing a number of things. First and foremost, making sure that anyone who will serve in his cabinet will be thoroughly vetted. Salaries, other perks, benefits are all published on the internet, in the Liberian daily newspapers, and so forth and so on. The other thing he intends to do to really begin to tackle corruption is to set up a commission that will review all of the auditing reports that has been done by the Supreme General Accounting Office, GAC. Many of those reports are currently just on the shelves, gathering dust. They've never been acted upon. So he intends to set up a commission that will review audit reports from the past regime and the current regime. And whatever findings they come up with that may call for prosecution or reacquisition of properties, that will be done. So that's just two, and as I said, Paul also highlighted at the occasion, it's just 3 of the 22 sectors that our platform has addressed. There's, 18 more, 19 more sectors, and if time permits, we can go on and on. I'm sure other colleagues can highlight any of those sectors. But that's just to sum, that is the way in which an LPP government under the leadership of Councillor Gonglo and Yakpa intends to proceed once it assumes state power. Thank you.
Yeah, before going to uniting the country or before going to collaborations, anyone else want to make comment on that, on the issues on why the Liberian people feel that or she needs to lead the country? Anyone else want to make a comment on that? On any other sectors? Comrade Paul spoke on education and emphasized by Dr. Doe, and then he brought in security as a rule of law as well. Anyone else want to make comment on that before we move to collaborations?
I think just to come in, one thing that our standard bearer has emphasized over the months or the years has been the issue of the economy. And he talked about how transparency at all levels can help the Liberian economy to prosper. Our GDP, I don't know whether the numbers can be correct, is usually in the billions. And a country with about 5.5 million people with a gross domestic product that is within that range, that means there should be some high level of employment. And beyond employment, the consumer price index, goods in Liberia are not affordable. Even the 25-pound bag of rice, an ordinary person cannot afford it. So why should we have a higher gross domestic product, which is the totality of everything that is produced within the borders of Liberia within a period? And then you have the highest level of unemployment, 99.9% people unemployed, only 1% may be employed. And then the consumer price index shows that Liberian cannot afford a cup of rice. So these are things that what Standard Bearer has been talking about. How do we improve this economy for the inequality to be reduced? How do we put bread on the table? And so we are far ahead of other political parties. If journalists are actually taking time to dig deeper into what we have talked about when it comes to how a new economy is going to be born, an economy that specifically looks at what the natural resources in Liberia, an economy that considers the kind of capital that we have, an economy that looks at how best can we help our people to understand and go into business in order to have a prosperous country. So these are the things. And our Standard Bearer has said again that, look, when it comes to development, it's not just infrastructure. The most important thing to develop is the human index. And Liberia is one of the least when it comes to the development of human index. The human capital need to be developed, and every other developmental process or processes will follow. But we don't have a developed manpower that will be able to build a modern house. And we don't have institutions. So as Paul was hammering home the issue of education, you realize that countries that have done better are countries that have people that are inclined when it comes to trade. You have masons trained at the university level, you have carpenters trained at the university level, and various aspects of the economy begin to develop from all sources. So yeah, we actually have advanced a lot of topics, and we understand the situation that prevails in Liberia, and our government is going to make a big difference when it comes to how to develop this country, because we understand what development is.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robert. Are you telling us that your government going to put square holes in square pegs in square holes? Is that what you're telling us shortly?
No, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that because we are far advanced and better when it comes to understanding the various aspects or the various functional areas of a government. We understand that having a ministry of finance fused with the Ministry of Development and Planning does not make sense. So there's no way that we want to put square pegs in round holes, because we have the manpower and they are ready to come up with policies that will help the country to do better. We're not going to take someone who doesn't know about finance, someone that will be telling the country dig hole, cover hole.
Yep.
To be a finance minister? Hell no, that cannot happen. So no, we are not going to do that. People that are trained in certain areas, technocrats will come back to Liberia. Technocrats will play their role. Those people that were trained largely during the early government, that were sent to the United States to go to school. There were a group of directors, assistant ministers that were sent to Harvard University. Here, they train in the United States. Those are the guys that should play a role. At a certain level, the Chinese are where they are today because it was in the early 70s that they put in place their policies that ministers, directors, and everybody should be master degree holder. Considering our own level, we are not going to go there, but we require that people get educated. Not just university education. We need polytechnics. Do we need university in all the counties? No. I can tell you that. Because
Dr. Roberts, let's go a little bit into that. Let's go a little bit into that. I think we have a couple of minutes still to go. Let's go a little bit in that. Let's try to see whether our people can get to understand what the Liberian People's Party wants to do. Now, if you get to Liberia, this is the common saying, and it has affected the country everywhere. The Liberian people have to believe that when you are so much educated, it is the so much educated people that have thrown the country into a mess today. And one give the example. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, highly educated, took the country and supported George Weah, who has no record of straight education. At one time, he's graduated from a Western High School. One time he did not. Another time he did, and then again he got a master's. One time he didn't sit in class, or there was somebody, or the finance minister did or the work for him to get educated, and so forth and so on. Liberian people hold the belief today that the educated people are responsible for Liberia's complete mess today. The Liberian People's Party, you are boasting about how much educated people you have, how much educated people Ellen has trained to take over once your party wins to assist. How can you compromise the belief of the public that you want to serve, that educated people are not the best people to lead the country? And now you educated, your party is talking about a lot of educated people to lead the country. How can you compromise that?
Well, Mr. Zoga, thanks for that question. And I would just like to tell you that the assumption that Liberian people don't believe in education is 100% wrong. Liberian people love educated people. I can tell you this. Liberian women go to the market to sell. Most of their money is spent on sending their kids to school. So if you don't believe in education, they wouldn't do that. The Liberian women, all little resources they have, they put it towards the education of their boys and girls. They do not discriminate. So Liberian people value education. What happens in every nation is that there comes a time when people look back and look at people who have hurt them. And if the majority of the people who have hurt them or who have not helped them are educated, and you put education up front, then there is an issue with your own definition of education. When I'm talking about LPP and talking about education, I can tell you this, that LPP believes that education is the amount of information that one gather about his surroundings. Now, if you can sit with people in the villages for you to discuss with them how do they manage the rest from the farm that they have rights to eat throughout until farming season comes, and then they still have another part of the kitchen where there's right to still replant. That's the kind of education that we talk about. So people have a degree of understanding and education. But what we are saying, when it comes to institutions that are supposed to interact with international institutions, you should have people there who specifically understand those functional areas of government. You're talking about economy, you're talking about finance. You cannot put a man in the place that doesn't know about how projects are worked out when you are a finance minister. When the man is telling you that you dig hole, close hole, I mean, if you are budgeted for roads, you can take the road budget and give it to the president to travel around the world for 48 days. That's a dig hole, cover hole. Or you start in a project and you don't complete the project, it doesn't matter, just start it. That's why Rawan Field Road is a hole today. So what I'm talking about is that we have functional areas of government. People who understand planning should head planning. You don't find that minister heading planning. You talk about development. Development is a discipline by itself. So let us try to put the right people in the right places in order to succeed.
Thank you so much, Dr.
And
Robert. Yes, sir.
No, I say, and also part of the problem that we we face when government or institutions are not open, are not transparent, and information is concealed from the public, that leaves a lot of room for speculations, for information that is not based in fact. So part of what LPP will also do is whatever we do will have to be backed by data, data research. Are some of the things that government has over the years done or is going to do, are they having any impact? Are they backed by data? For instance, government undertakes a lot of like construction of market buildings and all of that. First and foremost, whatever project you undertake, what problem, the question you ask yourself is, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve? Is it an economic problem? Is it an information dissemination problem that I'm trying to solve? And then after that, you have to revisit that, evaluate. But to a large extent, folks conduct projects, carry out things without examining as to what the impact has been. And so over the years, you find out that government waste a lot of resources, put and perhaps they have their own motives for that, maybe for some corrupt needs. But what research is behind that? That this is solving the problem that we intend to solve. I just pointed out like the construction of these fancy market buildings. Have they been able to solve the economic problems that we're trying to solve? Or we are just trying to keep certain people quiet so that during the voting season they will come and vote for us? Have it improved the quality of life? And in the absence of data, in the absence of real concrete research, you will constantly do the same thing, though it is not having real effect. So the when LPP, if the like when the Liberian people give us that opportunity, transparency will be key, will be open to the people, and even admitting where you are wrong is not a sign of weakness. But because we take on this kind of superior notion that government officials or government is infallible, and therefore we don't tell the people the truth. And as the result, they blame us when things go wrong. And I think that's also point to that fact about this notion that the educated people are the ones who spoil this country, but without realizing what education, the benefits of education. If your child is sick, you take that person to the doctor. You don't go and say, "I'm carrying my child to this to this other person," but you trust the doctor. But what is it that that doctor is utilizing? That's education. You send your kid to school, and because someone who has learned, why don't you take him to one uneducated person, someone who has never gone to school? So no, the first thing you want to know, has the mother, are the teachers in that school, are they good teachers? So when folks say that educated people spoil this country and all of that, because it's just a blanket statement, and then as you break it down, they too will begin to like think about it, like, oh, some mothers will say, hold on, you want to treat my child? Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? What kind of doctor are you? How long have you been working? In other words, they are asking you, are you educated? Are you trained? So we will have to take up that, that responsibility also, by being very transparent, by being open to our people. When things are rough, tell them things are rough. When and putting where the money, the resources in the appropriate place, so that they can have the right impact and not just engaging in things that people will see. Oh, yeah, he's the one that built that beautiful building. But beneath that beautiful building, you have a lot of miserable lives, people who are impoverished. You are talking about building roads when nobody gets any employment, when quality of life is not improved at all. And then those are like useless things. So these things have to be re-examined, and that is what when the LPP is given the chance by the Liberian people, and those are the things. Those are some the things that we will be embarking upon.
Thank you so much, Sir Dave Jai. The Liberian People's Party intends to build human resource, develop human resources in our country. We've got like 27 minutes to go. Let's take 2 minutes to listen to the drama for the Liberian People's Party, the better Liberia is
Umoga, thank you for telling me all about the Liberian People Party.
Government is the place to serve, not to steal. A better Liberia is possible. Honor Councillor Tewan Gonkro and Dr. Emmanuel Yakpawulo. Let us vote for them, yeah.
The Boom Talk Show tonight, and we have with us the caption of this talk tonight.
Better Liberia, better Liberia, better Liberia.
Hey, Umoga, what do you mean? You're talking to yourself,
Hey, Tiwa. I'm
Tonight,
talking about
we
better
are
Liberia.
diving deep
A
into
better
what
Liberia
happens
is
to
possible.
Liberian People's
A
Party
better Liberia where
when
there
they
will be no
become
suffering.
leaders tomorrow.
Oh, better
What are they
Liberia
going to
where
do?
we're all suffering.
Better Liberia
Yes,
is possible.
Tiwa. A better
You wanna
Liberia
listen to
is
the drama
possible on the Gongro
and
and
listen
Yabaro
what they
ticket.
have to say
You
to us.
tell me what you tell Gongro and Maya Yakpawulo will do to make Liberia better.
Tiwa, you made me laugh. Tewa Gongro and Imaya Yabaro. They say when you vote for them for president and vice president, they will develop Liberia. They will develop Liberia and they will do plenty things for Liberia.
Oh.
Number one,
Number one.
they will make sure plenty people in Liberia will get job and they will get a pay every month. Number two,
Number two.
they will make sure all people, pregnant women, children, they will go to the hospital and get good treatment, and plenty medicine will be in the hospital. That when people get sick, when they go there, so they can be treated good.
Oh.
Number three,
Number three.
Tewa Gongro and Yagbaro say public work compound will be in all the county, and they will make sure that they will face the road, and the mud business all on the road will finish. That's a good thing there.
That good thing.
Number four,
Number four.
Councillor Gongro and Dr. Yagbaro say they will make sure they support all the farmers in Liberia. They will support them with machines, and they will make sure that they produce plenty rice in Liberia for us. And the army people will also join them and produce rice in Liberia and make sure they produce plenty rice for our citizens. Number five.
Number five.
Number five.
Number five.
School fee. School fee. Councillor Gongro and Dada Yagbaro say from ABC to 12th grade, the school fee will be free for all government schools. And all the teachers will be paid. And all volunteer teachers will get on government payroll. No more volunteer teacher business.
So that all the things Councillor Gongro and Yakpawulo will do there?
Matewa? No. Let me tell you more. Councillor Gongro and Yagbaro, they get plenty things to do for Liberia.
Tell me more. I want to know. Tell me, I want to hear more.
Councillor Gongro and Dr. Yagbaro say, when you vote for them for president and vice president, there will be no harming building in Liberia.
All right, we'd like this guy to tell us more after we've answered the questions of unity on our country. Gentlemen, tonight we are discussing, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing the Liberian People's Party in when she takes over as a leader for the Liberian people. Tonight, our next question comes to collaborations or unity of the country. We see that the country is divided based on political ideology. We see that there is a diverse perspective of each of the political party. Now, there are some who have been involved in massive corruption. When the Liberian People's Party takes seat tomorrow, which we believe that she's going to win this election overwhelmingly, when we take power tomorrow, what can you highlight on this platform tonight that you are willing to incorporate some of the political leader from some of these political parties? For example, a partisan who was expelled from, the partisan who was the Minister for State and Presidential Affairs. He is a partisan of the CDC. And then the former Justice Minister is partisan of the CDC. When the Liberian People's Party take over tomorrow, based on this diverse perspective of the political parties, are you willing to incorporate this party in your government?
Zoga, I got to laugh, but first and foremost, I just like to say that, no one political party can run a country. I mean, politics is all about the competition of ideas. But when it comes to governing, even if LPP assumes, if LPP wins the elections come October 10, it knows enough not to be arrogant to say that it will be the one and only party that will run the country, as we see happening today. You got the current regime, CDC, that have basically politicized governance to the extent that whether, and it's back to this thing about book, you don't know book, you got education, you're not education. You got people without the basic qualifications in particular areas. Like my colleague was mentioning, area of finance. Why would you take, for example, somebody with no training, no background, no experience, and place them in a position, for example, deputy minister of finance or deputy minister of education, without any training in any of these disciplines, no experience in any of these disciplines? The country has a wealth of highly trained people, highly experienced people who can be recruited, placed in positions to run the country and produce good results. You can have arrogance when it comes to how you govern. You have to have a broad vision to be inclusive. So LPP is committed to inclusive governance, where everybody will be brought on board. Our standard bearer has been very particular and forceful about that. We want a country where everybody will feel a part of that country. He said over and over that, look, we want to empower women. And he will ensure that women are not only given token positions within the government, but they will be given position of prominence where they can make an impact. And we want to make governance inclusive to bring everyone into the political process. You heard about how he wants to decentralize the economy of the country, making sure that development is not only concentrated in Monrovia, but it's spread all throughout the country. Incentives will be put in place to encourage new business starts, to invest in counties that are not experiencing major investment, for example. So there's so many things that will be done to make government inclusive, for people to feel a part of the country. Unlike what we're experiencing now, where the CDC, if you don't wear the CDC cap, you don't wear the badge, you don't sing Muya Muya, or sing Jose Jose, I say Jose, and whatever that is, you will not be allowed to participate, be an active citizen participant in their government, as we're seeing today, and see where it has brought us. So LPP is really, if LPP assumes state power tomorrow, you will see a different approach to how governance, how governance will be promoted. It will be very inclusive of everyone. It's not going to restrict you to your ethnicity, to your gender, to your geography, what have you. It will be totally inclusive. I mean, it's, I can't better explain it, but this is the kind of governance that Gonglo Yakpawuro candidacy intends to put in place, so that we can have a better Liberia tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Doe. There is something we call legitimacy, which on a rule of law, where that aspect of the law gives the surety to the people. When you legitimize all aspects of the legal part to the public, they have the confidence in you to give back to you. And one of the reasons why the government has the responsibility to listen to the public and fight for them is they gave them their right, their voting right to them. They bring them to power. So in a community, if the community respects the police, it means that the police in that community is behaving well. Now, let's assume that there is a crucial time where the public lose confidence in your leadership when you come to power. Are you willing? What plan do you have to listen to the public and incorporate their suggestions? Let me just make a more on that. Today, the CDC-led government doesn't want to know what happened to the people, whether people are dying or what have you. When Liberian People's Party comes to power tomorrow, and there is a time where the public lose confidence in your government, if it happens, and there is an outcry, what plan do you have? How will you listen to the public, and how do you plan to incorporate their suggestions? Anyone, because we're running out of time, so we'll have at least two persons to elaborate on that, and then we'll move on to the next questions. Any of you can take that first. Maybe Ja or Dr. Doe. I mean, Dr. Roberts.
Okay, so go ahead, Ja.
I mean, part of it, brothers, you got as a government, you have to be proactive. You have to be proactive. You have to be anticipatory, and you have to be open, communicating. I'm saying, like, in time past, there was, I think, in one of the government where they said, like, talk with the president. Sometimes the president has a particular time slot on one of the leading radios where people, with respect, ask questions, express their concerns,
Yeah,
and
I
all
saw
of
it.
that. So the as a leader of the nation, your ears have to be on the ground. One of the problems that people face is when leader submerged gets submerged into that maze, and people just feed him with information or feed her with information without the leader having a first-hand also information, and then it breeds arrogance and complacency. Hey, and all those who are around you. Sometimes, and I'm sure Councillor Gonglo is a very open person. He wants to hear all the news, the good news, the bad news, what the people are saying about him out there. I sure you'll be very open to that. And this is how, because if your folks are always bringing you good news, look, my man, the people love you. The people care about you. You are the best ever of all the presidents in Liberia. You are the best. Then you are not serving your people right, because there will still be dissent, and especially a nation like Liberia. So dissent, disagreement, grievances will be dealt with well. People will have the opportunity to speak out, to express what their concerns are. And you will ask people, look, what are they saying about me out there also? You will not only just want to hear the good news, how you are next to Jesus Christ. And once they're telling you that you are Jesus Christ, obvious right away you should check out those people. They are just bunch of sycophants, and we have seen it. Liberia is a country filled with sycophants, with people who just puff you up. So sure, the counselor, a very good listener. He wants to learn from the public, so it will, and criticism will be, you know, evaluated, and where the necessary corrections need to be made will be made. And officials of government will also have to execute their responsibility transparently and fairly.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Sir. And Dr. Roberts, once you come in and make your comment, you will also use that time to say your final word to the public, because we have got like 7 minutes to go. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I think my brother from Lispark said it all, that when it comes to law and order, the number one thing is not what is written. The number one person that should be able to be an exemplar is a leader. And once, even if you don't have the rules on the books, you don't have the laws written, if you have a leader, a president who is on day one, like what Councillor Tiawonse Gondo is going to do, is to declare your asset. Because you are assuming a position of leadership in which you're going to manage the resources of the country. So, what do you want to go there in order to steal, or you want to tell the Liberian people, I have 2 houses, I have 10 acres of land, I have a gold mine? Let the Liberian people be aware. And this is what Liberia has been in wanting. Liberia want to know what you already have before you take power. And our leader is on day one prepared to tell the Liberian people whatever he has. And he's going to mandate every other person that wants to be a part of the government to also do so. That's the first thing. The second thing is we are on a clear path of assuming power, number one, or collaborating with another party or other parties to assume power. In such case, we bring to the table our level of transparency to ensure that there's good governance in Liberia beyond the job we are government. And that is what LPB has been. We exemplify some high level of transparency. Dave Judge just mentioned here some issue about having an open communication system like the interim government, the LPP interim government, or let's say the interim government or national unity, were one of the first to establish a radio show for the president to speak to the people, to hear from the people, for people to say what they want to say that is on their heart. And people spoke to Amos Sawyer. They told him what they wanted. They laid that to Amos Sawyer. And that is how LPP has been. So we are not, let's say, leaving behind any of our traits. We're coming to the leadership of this country with everything that will make good governance. The good part is the international community has changed at several levels. On Wednesday, you heard Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, saying that, hey, there's already sanctions here and prepared to go on anyone that tries to impede or cause any problem with the democratic process in Liberia. And it's an open thing. And you are already in power and you think you're going to manipulate the system. Beware. You are not traveling out of that country. You are not running away. You're going to be caught up. So those are the kind of systems that we think when they are in place and ensuring that those that have brought millions of dollars from the country to other countries abroad, make sure that the money is returned to Liberia. Those are the things when we get in power that we're going to legally try to explore. So yes, we are prepared to establish some level of sanctity in our country for people to know that, look, we are serious, that at least every child at the school age should be able to go to school. And is that the only thing? No. We are telling you that even daycare, they are very important part of the society. You know, you gotta allow 3 to 4 children go sit down in front of someone called a teacher, and the children don't even have a seat to sit on. Some of them have to carry stools and wood and other things to sit on. And you say you are interested in education? No. So yeah, that's the road we are on, and we ask everyone to be prepared for us to do the right thing. And the right thing is, if we assume power, you should be prepared to be transparent from day one. And you should be also prepared to be a statesperson. You are a manager, you are a leader. And Dave also said something about the management by evidence. What is the outcome of the process that you have carried on? We're not just going to go blindly with all other projects and things that they have carried out. We want to know what has succeeded and what has not succeeded. So those are the plans that we have, and we're going to cooperate and collaborate with any institution or any party that is willing to follow the same trend that we're going to follow when we are governing Liberia tomorrow. Thank you.
Now we'll move to Paul. Can you say final talks to our people before we leave tonight? You are muted, Paul.
Yes, my final thoughts will be directed to first the voters. I'm encouraging them to turn out and vote for LPP on October 10. There should be no fear. We got capable men and women who can lead the country into different directions. Second is to the ECOWAS countries. We are encouraging you not to encourage anybody who will engage in plunging our country into chaos to get in space. I'm saying this because it's not only in America that they can come. Some can take their money, seek refuge in Nigeria, in Ghana, and neighboring country and live equally. Some of them have been on sanction for years and they're still living. So I'm encouraging the ECOWAS countries to come up with the same position as the Americans. If anybody play with democracy within the West Africa sub-region, don't allow such person to seek refuge in your country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We go to Sir Dave Ja, and then we'll finally go to Dr. Doe, who will give us his final say before we leave. Dave? Yep.
I would like to say thank you again for the invitation. I am always happy to be part of the exercise that promote our candidate because I believe, quite frankly, I've not been actively involved in electoral politics than I am for this councillor because I believe in him that Liberia needs a new path. Liberia needs a new direction. And who is better to do that? Especially, from the law and order vantage point. Our country has suffered because of impunity. People get away with anything as long you are siding with the power that be. And that has hurt our country for so long. People have not been held accountable for a long period of time. And when someone is constantly saying something, put himself out there and say, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm fighting for. That person consciously suffer guilt if they begin to go against that. So Councillor Gonglo has established himself over the years. He has put himself in a bind, I would say, that I believe in human dignity. I believe in justice. I believe in transparency. I believe in the rule of law. He has said those things publicly in his life for the past almost 40 years. He has said them, he has stood for them. So when he himself start going back to those things, as we Liberians, we can say his own conscience will catch him. All of us got conscience. God put it in all of us. You know when you're doing the wrong thing. So, this thing that I've been preaching against, and this is why most of the people in the election today, they don't have any track record. They have been wishy-washy. They don't stand, you can't define what they have stood for the past years. But this, our candidate, has stood for it. He has said it. So you, the Liberian people, you will be quick to catch him. The moment he start going somewhere, you say, Councillor Conglo, and are you said this before? And are you talking against stealing? And are you the one who talk against abusing people's rights? What are you doing now? And consciously he will be guilty. So, and that's what makes a human being when you stand for something. So on October 10th, I'm asking all of you to vote. Vote for a better, a brighter, and a newer Liberia. A Liberia that respects you, a Liberia that cares about you, a Liberia that listens to you. The leader that is not afraid to admit his mistakes. So I'm urging all of my people, everybody listening, to please on October 10th, vote right, vote for the broom, look for that broom and vote for it. Thank you so much for the time, and let's keep doing what we're doing. I think we are on the right side of history.
Thank you so much. Dr. Doe, you're going to close our show. Thank you so much. Give us your final say and to the Liberian people.
Yes, indeed. Just want to follow in the footsteps of my colleagues to call upon all of our people, wherever you are, whether you're in Cape Hamas, whether you're in Cape Mount, whether you're in River G, whether you're in Nimba, wherever you are in that country of ours, please come out and make it your business to show up to the polls and vote on October 10th. These elections are very, very critical. We've been through 6 years of suffering. As our people say, 6 years of hardships, of hard times. We've had bad governance in the country. Too many things have happened. People have disappeared. People have died mysteriously. The country is basically a big elephant meat where our current leaders feel that they can just loot the resources of the country and do nothing for our people. No good schools, no good hospitals, no good clinics, no bad roads. In fact, right now, as we speak, a whole region of the country, because of the bad weather condition, the rain, a whole region of the country, the southeast, is isolated. In fact, we don't even know what plans the Elections Commission has in place to ensure that the people of the southeast, comprising Grand Jide, comprising Sino, comprising Maryland, Grand Cru, River Cess, that these people will be actively involved in these elections that are coming. But this should not deter anyone. If you have to go to the polls, find a way to go to the polls, because we're at the crossroads. These are very serious moments in our history. We cannot continue to pursue the current path the country is heading. The country has gone backwards for so many years. You know, children not in school, people getting up in the morning, they don't even know where the first meal is coming from. So make this your responsibilities. You as citizen has a responsibility to participate in the progress of your nation. You know, so this period, October 10th, don't let it go past by you. Don't be discouraged about what you see out there. I know people have been talking about big crowds, huge crowds. We already seen pre-election violence that may discourage people from going to the polls. But summon yourself and make it your business to go to the polls. Encourage your family, encourage your relatives, encourage your friends to go to the polls. You need to vote number 6, Councillor Gonglo and Dr. Yakpaworo. These two people are the alternatives to the current regime. So again, my people, we're making a plea with you, calling upon you. Don't let nothing stand in the way between you and October 10. Go to the polls and vote. Again, thank you, Comrade Zoga, for organizing this forum, as you've always done. And we look forward to making another appearance, or several more appearances before October 10th. And thanks to all my colleagues as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for appearing on this program. And it was a pleasant time having you all. So tonight, we have come to the end of the let our guests and then re-energize and come back.
Better Liberia.
Thank you so much. And have a pleasant day, gentlemen.
Better Liberia. Better Liberia.
Hey, Umaga. What do you have been just talking to yourself?
Hey, Tiwa, I'm talking about better Liberia. A better Liberia is possible. A better Liberia where there will be no suffering.